Thursday, March 12th. You're watching the SIG podcast. Trust the process. Producer Shayne here, joined as always by my co-host Snake. We're going to be talking about Jacob Fowler because obviously we have to. Called up yesterday for the Montreal Canadiens. Came into Ottawa, stopped 32 of 34, gets the W. How about that for a rookie goalie? Pretty spectacular. We mentioned this a while ago, but we're going to talk about the Buffalo Sabres. Today, we're going to dive in. Okay, we're going to try to figure out what happened and why all of a sudden they're one of the hottest teams in the league after being the laughing stock of the league for so many years. What happened? What changed? What didn't change? Because not much did. We're going to discuss all of that. We're also going to get to the news of the day. The Ottawa Senators get their first-round pick back, but there are conditions. Snake's got a hot take cooked up for us, and we've got a mailbag question in the queue. It's going to be a good show, and it all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
All right, producer Shayne here. Simon the Snake Boisvert. How are we doing today?
I'm doing great because we didn't get hit by the ice storm where I live. It was 7 degrees yesterday, so just a little bit of rain. So, and I'm about, about 100 kilometers away from Montreal, so I'm not that far.
Man.
Just got lucky.
You got hit.
Yeah.
We got hit pretty good. It's not as bad as it was reported to be, you know, the ice storm of a century, but there's still a considerable amount of ice out there. So please, for everyone, be safe. Hopefully you got your Point S tires, okay, as we were talking about before this winter. Okay, we've been pushing them, so hopefully you got them. But you know what? Hopefully you're staying home today, okay? Don't go out on the road if you don't have to. It is not good. Snake, we had quite the game yesterday. And look, it's Thursday. We don't normally talk about the Habs, but I think we have to talk about this player because, I mean, the show is called Trust the Process. And I think this encapsulates it very well, right? The goaltending has been such an issue in Montreal this season. Up and down, inconsistent, not trustworthy. And then you have 21-year-old Jacob Fowler come in against a division rival in a must-win game for them. You know, pretty important win for the Habs too. And plays like that, 32 saves on 34 shots. And I mean, the ending, you know what I mean? Like the Habs have had a hard time holding on to leads late in the games. Not with Jacob Fowler. That was spectacular, Snake. I mean, what did you think of his game?
Well, basically, I'm not sure if he's not in front of the net if the Canadiens win. I mean, you never know if Dobesh could have pulled something out of his hat, but the fact is Fowler did. Now, I know he's only 21. He had a cup of coffee in the NHL before Christmas, and they sent him back, which I think was okay at the time. Mm-hmm. But now I think it's time to trust the guy. He's not always going to play like yesterday, but no goalie does. But what are the options right now? And Dobesh can do a decent job, by the way. Yeah. But there's a third wheel in that in the goalie room right now. So this is something that they're going to have to analyze over the summer because Samuel Montembeault is still under contract for, is it 1 year or 2 years at 3.1? I would think it's 2 years after this season, but correct me if I'm wrong.
1 year left.
He's got 1 year left. Okay. Yep. You can't have 3 goalies next year, obviously. Mm-hmm. So, but I think it's time to give Jacob Fowler the chance to perform. The Canadiens did it with defensemen and forwards. They, Lane Hudson didn't play in Laval. Uri Slavkovsky did not play in Laval. Demidov was thrown to the wolves in the playoffs last year. And I know goalie is a different position. But what do the Habs have to lose right now? The Habs are still a team on the rise. They're not a win now team. Good if they win right now, but developing players for next year, 2-3 years down the road, and perhaps build a long streak of success is the priority right now. So if Fowler plays, I don't know, 10 more games and he has 2 bad games, well, it doesn't matter. He will have probably had 8 good games if he had 2 bad games. So, and like I say, no goalie's perfect. It's just that sometimes we are quick to judge rookie goalies. We're quick to judge goalies who don't have like what I call a reputation.
Yeah.
But if Andrei Vasilevsky has 5 bad games in a month, oh, it's okay. It's Vasilevsky. So I understand that these guys get the benefit of the doubt, but I think Fowler has shown enough in his first stint and yesterday to warrant a longer trial period.
Permanent spot.
I mean, don't send him back. If he has a bad game this weekend, he's probably going to play one of the 2 games this weekend. Both teams have very good offense, the Sharks and the Ducks. Yeah. By the way, I'll be at the game against the Sharks on Saturday. Section 105, row W. Just telling you, listeners, if anyone's at the game, wants to come and say hi, 105, row W. But I think even if Fowler has a bad game this weekend, look, it's okay. It's okay. Keep him around. Now, the Laval Rocket are closer, are getting close to playoff time too. But their series starts, their first series starts after the Habs, I think, because the AHL season is a little bit longer because the Calder Cup is won after the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So let's say Fowler stays with the Habs during the playoffs, let's say. And the Habs get eliminated at some point, and Laval is still around. Well, just send it back to Laval.
Yeah. Yeah. He's eligible.
So to me, and Kakkonen can do the job. I mean, I'm not worried about the Rocket. He's good. Kakkonen.
He took Charlotte to the finals last season. So he's not a bad goalie at all.
No, he's just overshadowed by the presence of Fowler. But I think it was a great move by the Canadiens to have a guy like Kakkonen, because he is a guy, in case of injuries, who could be called up in Montreal.
Yeah.
And I don't think he could do worse than Montembeault has done in the last few weeks. So I think overall, Laval Rocket winning is important. It is. But it's more important to develop players for the Habs because, the Habs is the main team. I mean, no one will trade a Stanley Cup for a Calder Cup.
No.
But then again, Fowler could do both. He could play for the Habs and play for Laval. So I do think that it's time now. The first time around, I was a little bit... I was being patient, and okay, well, I think the original plan was to keep him in Laval for the entire season. But now, they had no choice, and he's doing well. So, come on. I mean, I'm not saying he's Patrick Roy, but Patrick Roy was thrown to the wolves at age 20. And look, if a guy's ready, he's ready. So that's my take on Jacob Fowler.
Snake, you mentioned the playoffs, and last night on Tony's post-game show, if someone didn't catch that one, it lasted about 3.5 hours. Tony was on a mission yesterday, and one of his guests was Stefan Waite. He brought on Stefan Waite, and Stefan convincingly said, my starter for the playoffs is Jacob Fowler. I'm trusting this guy in the playoffs, not just like, okay, well, if Dobesh gets hurt. No. He's the starter in the playoffs. Are you with the same train of thought as Stefan?
Well, I think I would wait a little bit before making that statement because we're a month away from the playoffs. However, I wouldn't mind at all because, like I said, I mean, Fowler has to learn the way Hudson, Demidov, Slavkovsky have. And look, if it means having him start the playoffs in net, why not? I mean, really, what do the Habs have to lose?
Yeah.
Kent Hughes didn't make any moves at the trade deadline. So obviously, it's not like he's aiming for the moon. But they're going to go with the flow. It's kind of wide open in the East. I know that, Buffalo is on a crazy streak right now. We're going to be talking about them today. Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay. On the other side, aside from Carolina, it's not very strong. I mean, the Penguins are probably going to make the playoffs. It's not very strong. So who knows what can happen, but I don't think the Habs can count on who knows what can happen or this thing that, in the playoffs, anything can happen. No, you still have to build your team for the near future. And so I think they're still playing with house money when you think about it. Because when they started the rebuild, we're talking about 5 years. And they made the playoffs last year. They're ahead of schedule. Mm-hmm. So I think they're playing with house money right now. Next season and the season after might be a different story, but they're still playing with house money. So not a bad idea, but I wouldn't just base it on yesterday's game. I would wait a little bit. And the question is, if Dobesh starts the playoffs, then what do you do with Fowler? You keep him on the bench or you send him back to Laval? It's probably better off being in Laval but then being on the bench, and you just cross your fingers that if Dobesh gets injured, that Montembeault can finish the game, and then you call back Fowler, I would think.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll revisit part of this discussion later today when you get to your hot take. I'm just going to tease it, but I'm not going to go, I'm not going to say what it is yet. I don't even know what it is, but I know what it's about. So let's move on now, Snake, if we can, to the Buffalo Sabres, because that's going to take up a big chunk of our show. I have a feeling. This is just ridiculous. I mean, for how long now? Is it 13 years that we've been talking about how the Sabres have been, just bad every single year? Like every single year, it seems look, they got a good pick. Oh, they got some nice young players coming in, and then they somehow find a way to screw that up, and then it's just a cycle of poo. And then all of a sudden, it didn't start off very well this season either. They were rough to start the year.
Well, they fired the GM. That's it.
They fired Kevin Adams, and all of a sudden, they're the best team in the league. Overnight, just like that.
When they fired Kevin Adams, they were on a 3-game winning streak. Maybe they should have been more, which is weird. But they had been so bad. I think talking about the Buffalo Sabres starting in 2011 would probably take 3-4 shows. So what I'm going to do, I'm really going to focus on the Kevin Adams era, because that's when things really turn around. Because if we go back 10, 15 years, at some point they had a plan to rebuild with GM Tim Murray. And remember, they went very hard for McDavid in the sense of tanking. They got Jack Eichel, which was a great consolation prize, but he's no McDavid. And then Murray was fired. Pardon me?
And they somehow screwed that up too.
Yeah. And then there was this issue with Pat LaFontaine. Pat LaFontaine became president of the team, and he didn't agree with the philosophy of Tim Murray. And anyway, LaFontaine left after a month or two. And then they fired Murray, and then they got Jason Botterill, who's the current Kraken GM. Botterill was ridiculed at the time for trading Ryan O'Reilly for a prospect called Tage Thompson. Because Tage Thompson took a while before he took off. So, but it ended up being a fantastic trade for both teams, because O'Reilly was very good with the Blues, won the cup, and he was a key part, and Tage Thompson is Tage Thompson. So then Botterill got fired, and then Pegula, the owner, hired his, I wouldn't say his buddy, but I would say a man that he really trusted. The guy was managing, I think, arenas for Pegula or something like that. He was in the entertainment side of the business. And Adams had a plan. And that plan was to basically destroy the team and build it from scratch. So he started making trades. Some of them were forced, like the Jack Eichel issue. Some of them were not. Sam Reinhart didn't have to trade him. But he traded Ristolainen. So those 3 trades were supposed to bring the Sabres back on track in the sense that they got 3 first-round picks for these guys, plus young players. So for Eichel, they got Alex Tuch, who's been great since then. He's no Eichel, but he's a great power forward. They got Peyton Krebs. Look, he's a very good fourth-line player, PK player, but for a first-round pick, I think his offensive production was a little bit disappointing. But this year, I think in a bottom 6 role, he's been pretty good. And they got a first-round pick, which happened the year where Vegas missed the playoffs. So it became the 16th pick overall, Noah Ostlund, who is doing very good right now on the bottom 6. He's a good, small offensive player. So that trade, look, considering that they had to trade Eichel, I think it turned out fine, but it would have been better having a happy Jack Eichel in Buffalo, let's say. A happy and healthy Jack Eichel. But still.
Yeah.
Then he traded Sam Reinhart. I think it was all part of changing the culture in the dressing room, I guess, and getting rid of the old, in with the new. But Sam Reinhart was still a productive player. Not what he became in Florida, but they got a late-round pick for him, and which became Yuri Kulik, unfortunately injured because he's a good player. And Devin Levi, we're still waiting for him. He's 24. He's in Rochester right now. Great season last year. This year he's okay, but we don't know if he'll ever become an NHL goalie. Nice story, by the way. Devin Levi was from the West Island of Montreal, and at age 17, he was still playing midget hockey. So basically, in his draft year, he was playing midget hockey, which is very rare. But he won the cup, the midget AAA Cup in Lac Saint Louis. He single-handedly beat a team that led by Joshua Roy that had only lost 1 game in the season. So we'll see about Levi. And then they traded Ristolainen to the Flyers for the 14th overall pick, Isaac Rosen. Isaac Rosen started off well in the American Hockey League because he was brought in at a very early age from Europe, which is good. But then he kind of reached a plateau, and he was traded last week in the trade that involved Logan Stanley and Luke Chen. So overall, mixed results about these 3 trades. I mean, Eichel and Reinhart, top players.
That's bad.
Yeah. But, okay, let's just say that let's give him a passing grade for all this because he's still got some very useful players in return. But then at some point, what happened is, in the meantime, they had drafted Rasmus Dahlin, number 1 overall in 2018. Kevin Adams wasn't there. Kevin Adams arrived during the pandemic in 2020. And Buffalo got the first pick in 2021. They drafted defenseman Owen Power. It takes longer for big defensemen. I thought at the time he was a reach at number 1. Last year, I went to the Bell Center. I thought he had big issues with his skating, like pivoting to the left. And I said, okay, what the heck is this? This year, I have to say he's really improved. So he's probably never going to be worthy of being a number 1 overall selection, although the 2021 draft, who is really, when you think about it,
Wyatt Johnston.
Wyatt Johnston, I would say, but he was drafted much later. So, but it's okay. He's having a good season. And then I think that since they kept drafting small players like Mathieu Savoie, Zach Benson, I think Kevin Adams realized that it was time to trade from strength to get tougher players in the lineup. So what he did, he traded Mathieu Savoie for Ryan McLeod, Very bad trade for Edmonton, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's not turning out good.
I know they had to clear cap space, but that was ridiculous. He traded, and that was interesting, JJ Peterka, who was a very good offensive player, to Utah for Josh Doan, who's like his father, and Michael Kesselring. I think Doan is like his father. He's a tough guy who can score. So that was good. A fantastic acquisition. Not that I don't like Peterka, but they had a need. So it was really, what we like to call a hockey trade. I mean, and I think he didn't want to pay Peterka the salary that he was asking for. And he gave the money to Josh Doan, but I think it was a better investment. And now, in the meantime, they drafted guys like, I mentioned it, Benson, who's a useful, smallish offensive forward. They have Jack Quinn, up and down career, drafted in 2020. I mean, he's had a couple of good seasons. This year he's okay. Look, the jury's out, on this guy. He was mentioned in trade rumors. So I'm going through basically the roster right now. Interesting trade they made. Beck Malenstein from Washington for a second-round pick. That's another tough guy. Scored a very nice goal the other night on a breakaway. Not a good scorer, but it's a good fourth line with Peyton Krebs and Sam Carrick. Sam Carrick, who was recently acquired. So in the meantime, he had to get rid of Jeff Skinner's contract. Jeff Skinner's contract was given out by Jason Botterill. He bought him out. It's about $2.4 million in dead money for many, many years, except next year is going to be 6.4. So they have 6.4 million in dead money. But luckily, I mean, all their top players have been signed. The only except Alex Tuck. Alex Tuck is a free agent at the end of the year. They're probably going to re-sign him. The question is, big guy like that in his 30s, he's turning 30. Yeah, big money. Is he going to ask for 8 years? But usually these guys get it. They get the 8 years, because GMs don't really care. Then probably not going to be around at that time. So another trade he made, and that trade to me was so disappointing at the time. He traded Dylan Cousins, who wasn't having a good season last year, who didn't seem very happy in Buffalo. He traded him for, and you remember he was mentioned in rumors for the Habs.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like tooting his horn, I mean, Dylan Cousins, what a number 2 center that would have been for the Habs. But I think the Habs could have only given futures. And I think Buffalo wanted a guy who could play right away. They got Josh Norris from Ottawa. Josh Norris, when he's healthy, is a very good player. Problem is, Josh Norris
is not healthy.
So right now he's fine, but he still missed games. I mean, this is a big risk, but it's paying off. So I think there's a constant in everything that I've been saying right now, is that everyone seems to be having a good season this year, or a better season than average. Yeah. So that's why I'm wondering, is it sustainable? Because we all know that you can't have a team that with players always having a good season. But I think Buffalo, what plays in their favor is that they have a lot of depth.
That's it.
Not with prospects anymore. But that decor. Speaking of decor, Bowen Byram, another acquisition from Adams. Byram, he's a little bit fragile, but he traded Casey Middlestad, a first-round pick from the Botterill era, who wasn't working out in Buffalo, got to Colorado, didn't work out very well. Now he's in Boston. He's not too bad as a middle-of-the-lineup player, but Byram is a healthy Byram is obviously that was one of his best traits. If Byram stays healthy, I mean, that was one of his best traits. Byram is an excellent top 4 defenseman. So you look at it with Dahlin, Matthias Samuelsson, who's very good defensively, really good stick, big guy. You have Power, who's having a good season, and you have Byram.
Man.
And then they added Logan Stanley for a reasonable look. He's a UFA at the end of the year. Right now, he's on the third pairing. He's they gave up Isaac Rosen for him, who I think is not really a top prospect anymore, and a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick. So I think it's pretty good. The only thing now, and I'm wondering about Kekalainen, because we've seen him in Columbus playing yo-yo with we rebuild, we don't rebuild, we rebuild, we don't rebuild. I didn't like the trade for Colton Parayko. I did not like that move.
Yeah, you're happy it didn't happen, eh?
Well, in the sense that I'm not very high on Radim Murtka, the prospect who was traded for him. And the first round pick, it's fine because it's going to be a late round pick. But I didn't like, it's not what they gave that bothered me. It's the acquisition of Parayko. The guy is making tons of money for I don't know how many years, and he's already 32. So I'm thinking, is that what Kekalainen has in store next summer? Because if it is, if he makes more acquisitions like these, I don't know. If I were like a Sabres fan, I would still hold my breath with Kekalainen because of his track record in Columbus, and I wish Kevin Adams were back. So I think Adams, I feel really bad for him. The only thing is, if the Buffalo Sabres do well with his roster, because it is his roster, maybe he can find another job, which would have been unfathomable. It would have been unfathomable the way he was fired, the day he was fired.
Yeah.
No one thought Kevin Adams could get another GM job. Now, perhaps he can. So finally, in net, UPL, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, second round pick in 2017. So that's a million years ago. And Alex Lyon, that they hired as a UFA after a couple of seasons in Detroit. This guy's been a journeyman. Okay, you need a backup goalie. You need someone with experience. Let's sign Alex Lyon. He's been good, but this is the type of guy I was talking about reputations for goalies. This guy doesn't have a good reputation. So this is the type of guy that you're always holding your breath. So can he take them far in the playoffs? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I think it's just a big with goalies. Look, you don't know, especially guys like him. UPL could be an option, but in net, you never know. Last night, a couple nights ago, I watched a game against the Sharks. He was very good, but sometimes you wonder, okay, he's good tonight, but is he going to be good tomorrow? Because he's a little bit shaky. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And in terms of prospects, the prospect pool has really dried out. We talked about Devin Levi in net. We talked about Radim Murtka on defense, a big guy, 6'6", playing in the Western Hockey League. Started out the year in Rochester. I think it was a little bit too much for him. So I think eventually Murtka could be probably a number 4, number 5 defenseman. We'll see how he develops with these big guys. Who knows? Maybe in 5-6 years he'll be great, and we'll go back to 2025 when he was drafted and say, you see, they were right. It takes a long time for these big guys to develop, but we're very easy to criticize. We're very quick to criticizing them when they're younger and they don't become immediate superstars like Matthew Schaefer. And on offense, they have Konsta Elenius, 19 years old. Plays in Rochester. Yeah, he's good. He was called up for 9 games. I think he played 1 game at the Bell Center. I'm not sure, or against the Habs in Buffalo, but he was sent back. But I think it's just a matter of time before Elenius takes a spot. They also have Anton Wahlberg, 20 years old, been in the American Hockey League for a little while too. So there's a tendency with Buffalo, they draft Europeans, but they bring them over right away, which I think is great. Yeah, because usually Swedish guys, they stay, or Finnish guys, they stay in their country. But Rosen came over, Kulik came over, although he's not Swedish or Finnish, but doesn't matter. He's European.
I get your point. He's European.
Yeah. Wahlberg, Helenius, Kulik back, I think is going to be a good deal. They have Jordan Greenway on the injury list right now. Big guy, probably more like a fourth liner. And finally, the long-term contracts that they have, which is good. They have locked up Dahlin, Power, Samuelson, Norris, Thompson, and Doan. So they will have flexibility. A lot of their players are becoming free agents, whether UFA or RFAs, within a couple of years. Mm-hmm. So they'll have a lot of flexibility. If they're not happy with this player or that player, they can make trades. They can maybe sign other free agents. Let's see what happens with Alex Tuck. I think he's going to get his long-term contract. So hard to tell what the future is in Buffalo, but right now they are the hottest team in the league. I think they have the best record since December. Don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. Usually teams that haven't been in the playoffs for a million years, when they get to the playoffs, there's kind of a learning curve. We saw it with the Habs last year. But I'm sure no one wants to face them in the Atlantic Division.
That's it. I mean, the team is going to be hungry. The fan base is hungry. The city is buzzing. Like Sneak, you mentioned the goaltending, and that for me, that's my only question mark with that team, because I love the way the roster looks right now. But do you think they can realistically contend for a cup as soon as this summer?
I look.
I stumped you.
I don't know. I'll tell you why. Because we're talking about the Eastern Conference here. If they were in the division with Dallas, Minnesota, and Colorado, I would say no. Forget it. They're gone. Because, like we often say, one of the two, Dallas or Minnesota, is gone after round one.
Crazy.
For hockey fans, whether you cheer for them or not, it's bad. It's bad. In the Eastern Conference,
it's open.
I'm not too worried about Carolina on the other side and the other teams. But the Atlantic Division is strong. Boston is Boston. Boston is Boston. They're not the most loaded team in terms of talent, but do they play hard? And they still have guys like Pasternak, McAvoy. The Habs, look, if Jacob Fowler plays the way he played yesterday with their offense, could be good. But the Habs might not have the necessary grit to go far in the playoffs. I think a lot of people are wondering right now about this aspect, because offense is not a problem. Goaltending, we'll see. Detroit, I don't trust Detroit. I don't think it's a well-rounded team. Tampa is Tampa, getting older, but they're still fighting for the first spot in the division. Hard to predict, and that's the fun of it. That's the fun of it. I think
anything can happen.
Aside from Colorado and maybe Dallas, no team has really, really stood out this year on a constant basis. Colorado has been good wire to wire, except for a short sequence. So, but the Eastern Conference playoffs are going to be, especially the Atlantic Division playoffs are going to be fun this year. We might get 5 teams from that division in the playoffs. If Columbus doesn't keep winning, we might have 5 teams from the Atlantic Division. Should be fun. Should be a lot of fun.
The Metro is not good. Let's just say that. But
it is not good. Same as the Pacific Division, which is not good.
Pacific is horrible.
Yeah.
The Senators would be first in the Pacific, I believe, and they're not even making the playoffs in the East.
And they beat Seattle. They beat these teams from the West.
The Pacific is horrible. Yeah. But that just means that in a few years, it's going to be really, really good, because they're loading up now.
usually that's what it's a cycle. Remember, at some point, the Habs division was weak.
Yep.
Now it's strong. The Leafs are going down the drain, but the other teams are good. The Senators are not a bad team. Far from that.
No.
And as for the Leafs, check the standings, because their first pick is going to Boston.
Top five protected.
Mm-hmm. So the worst case scenario is if
6th.
the Leafs is the 6th pick overall.
Oh, listen, I'm not a Boston fan, obviously, but that would be so funny. That would be just so funny. Like, come on, I don't even feel bad for the Leafs because what do you mean you trade Fraser Minton and a first for Brandon Carlo?
Yeah.
Come on, what are we doing here? But
yeah,
look,
Fraser Minton being traded for Brandon Carlo is ridiculous because Fraser is a good 21-year-old player. He's a good middle six player.
Anyways, look, that's enough.
But you remember Toronto and Boston? The same thing happened 15 years ago when Phil Kessel was traded to Toronto for 2 first-round picks, unprotected, because at the time teams were not protecting your pick. One of the pick was a top 10 pick, Dougie Hamilton, and the other one was a number 2 overall pick, Tyler Seguin. Yeah. Didn't work out in Boston, but
what a player though.
That trade is the Carlo trade could be something similar if Boston gets, let's say, the 6th or 7th pick.
Whenever the Leafs and the Bruins trade together, there's always something weird. Like, you remember Tuukka Rask was it Andrew Raycroft or something?
Raycroft, yeah.
It's always these weird ass trades. Yeah. Anyways, it'll be fun to keep an eye on that. But Snake, as we wrap up the Buffalo Sabres here, the question remains: why the sudden flip? After about a quarter of the season done, because the first quarter, let's say, was horrible. It was on brand. It was exactly what we expected for the last few years for the Buffalo Sabres. But then a switch flipped, and all of a sudden everything works.
And they didn't change the coach because Lindy Ruff had been there.
No,
and he's a guy from yesteryear. I mean, he coached Buffalo forever when Darcy Reacher was the GM. Came back as a senior citizen, and pretty much, I think he's older than me. Because
he's doing a good job, though. He's doing a really good job.
He's doing a good job. And I think they had some new players, and it's very possible that they just needed a little bit of time to connect. Because remember, October and November hockey, you can't take it too seriously one way or the other.
That's fair.
Usually you start seeing trends around December. That's exactly what happened. I don't know if the GM being fired had anything to do with it because they had won 3 games in a row. And then the sequence went up to 10 games in a row. Look, I think it's just a matter of, like I said, most players are having an excellent season.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're all kind of peaking at the same time.
Yeah, they're kind of peaking at the same time. I think that would be the reason. But I don't know. I don't know. If I knew they were the NHL teams would hire me and pay me $2 million to give them the secret.
Well, listen, we can turn this over to the listeners now. Chime in the comments section. Let us know what you think of the Buffalo Sabres. Is it sustainable? What do you think? Flip that switch. And can they actually contend for a Stanley Cup this season? We want to hear your Snake. We had a little discussion just now about first round picks.
Yeah.
The Ottawa Senators today have been given their first round pick back after the Evgeny Dadonov situation. I don't even know what to call it. This is just a mess. But Frank Saravalli reported it that the NHL announced that it has restored the Senators' first-round pick that was originally forfeited as a penalty for the Evgeny Dadonov trade misstep. There are, however, stipulations. The pick will be the 32nd overall, cannot trade it or win the draft lottery, and they will have to pay $1 million fine. So I think fair, all things considered, because, the Dadonov thing wasn't that big of a deal. Let's be honest here. It was illegal to NHL standards, but to take their first round pick away was a bit harsh. I think most people saw this one coming. What do you think, Snake?
Well, they had 3 years to give it away, and I was surprised when they didn't do it last year when they got the 23rd pick overall. And either they thought that they were going to be better than that this year, or they saw what happened with the New Jersey Devils about 10, 15 years ago when Lou Lamoriello and the Devils were
Kovalchuk, right?
asked to Kovalchuk, because of the Kovalchuk crazy contract. And at the time, Lamoriello waited and waited and waited. He waited until the last year. And then last year, they said, okay, you can get your pick back, but it's going to be at the end of the first round. So what Ottawa is trading, basically, let's say they had given it up last year, the 23rd pick. This year, they might get, I don't know, the 14th, 15th pick, let's call it, okay, as of now. Mm-hmm. So they're basically trading the 23rd, they're basically trading the 15th pick for the 32nd pick. But they got to keep the 23rd pick. So let's say they had given it away last year, they would get a 15th pick instead of the 32nd. I think there's a world of difference, especially that last year they drafted Logan Hansler.
Yeah.
Logan Hansler, I think, can be a good defensive defenseman, but he's not going to be a big impact player. Whereas at 14, 15 this year, you never know what you can get. Whereas 32, chances are you're going to get a fourth liner or a number 6 defenseman. Chances are, you never know. You can get a Zarovsky, but I'm just going with, probabilities, odds, history. But I would be curious to know why they didn't give away their pick last year. Is it because they knew that the NHL could become softer, more lenient with them? Or is it because they really thought that they were going to be better this year and they were going to get, let's say, the 27th pick instead of the 23rd? Mm-hmm. And that one they could give away. So overall, I think they're going to be losing something. And so it'll cost them basically $1 million to get a 32nd overall pick.
Yikes. And this is a mistake from the previous regime too. So it's kind of it's poopy situation there for Steve Staios. But I mean, I think we all saw this coming, that the NHL would rearrange the punishment because it's a bit harsh. But I mean, that's the reality. Don't trade a player to a team that he had on his no trade clause. That's the bottom line. It's not that hard to figure out either. I think it's pretty much written pen on paper. So anyways, anything else to add on that situation before we move on?
No, I think it's just, like you say, it's unfortunate for new management. But me, what I'm analyzing is, did the current management make a mistake by not giving away the 23rd pick last year?
It's a gamble. Yeah.
The gamble. Yeah.
They thought they'd be better this season, but they didn't account for the fact that their goaltending is not good.
Exactly.
Moving along now. Snake, I think it's perfect opportunity. Pardon, I still have a bit of a throat cold or whatever you want to call it. It's a perfect opportunity for me to try and tell you about our partners here at the Sick Podcast who make this show possible. And I want to start off with a big shout out to our friends at Cheapest T-Shirts. If you're looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, and if you're not looking, I mean, you probably should be, you'll find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. They're proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast. They deliver unbeatable value every single day. You'll always get the cheapest prices, plus same-day shipping, and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. Whether you're shopping for T-shirts, hoodies, crew necks, hats, tote bags, polos, aprons, tank tops, and so much more, you'll find it all in one place. Plus, you can enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. And of course, big shout out to our friends at Bet, where you can get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Now, the offer is only available for new customers Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario, and you must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. And with that, it's time for Snake's Hot Take. As I mentioned earlier in the show, we would revisit the whole Jacob Fowler situation in Snake's Hot Take. So what do you got for us?
Well, it started with a conversation I had with Tony yesterday on his French show. Mm-hmm. And we were pondering, what should the Habs do with Montembeault right now? Do they keep him around and there's 3 goalies? Do they send him back to Laval? He wouldn't be eligible to play in the playoffs, however, in Laval, but he could at least finish the season over there. And at some point, it was mentioned, I don't know if it was Alexis or Tony, but it was mentioned at some point that, but if they send him to Laval, he has to go through waivers, and they might lose him. And I said, guys,
no.
Everyone's complaining that Montembeault's not been good this year. So who cares if he gets claimed?
And
it's $3 million off the payroll next year. $3 million. You can do it's a nice little cushion. And because anyway, next year they're going to go with Fowler and Dobeš, probably. I would assume.
You have to think.
And the thing is with waivers, before a player is put on waivers, let's not forget that he's being shopped around. I'm not saying Montembeault has been shopped around. I don't know. But the point is, when a guy is placed on waivers, he has been shopped around before, and no team is willing to give any asset for him. Caden Primo last year was placed on waivers. He wasn't picked up. Then this summer, they got a 7th-round pick back for him, which is better than nothing. Maybe that's what Kent Hughes wants to do, but there's no guarantee that's, a goalie-hungry team will want Montembeault because his value is not very high right now. But on waivers, you never know. I think if he had been a UFA, some team could have taken a chance, to have him as a number 3. But he has 1 year left on his contract. So basically, my take is just put him on waivers.
Waive him, yeah.
Just waive him. Okay? And send him to Laval. You never know. Could rebuild his confidence. I'm not saying he's going to be an asset. He's going to be with the Habs, and for years and years and years. But if he plays well in the American Hockey League, maybe you can do like Primo and trade him for a 7th-round pick this summer. Who knows? But waive Montembeault.
Snake, I don't even think that's a hot take. I think
no.
I think most people are on board with you. Maybe not everybody.
No, but yesterday it just it was just interesting that the conversation went to, we might lose him. Okay, so what?
You're not going to lose him. Realistically, who would claim a $3 million goalie who has had his worst season of his career?
Unless there's a rash of injuries on your team and you have no choice, you need a backup. And you don't trust the guy from the East Coast League.
I mean, off the top of my head here, I can't even think of a team that is in that situation. I don't know. I really don't think he'd be claimed.
Don't keep him around.
Again, we're talking about Montembeault here in a very negative light. Listen, the guy himself has done so much good for the organization and the city. Yes. He is a main reason why they made the playoffs last season. Let's not lose that in our discussion, because I think it's important to point out, we have to be fair in our analysis. But Snake, I mean, he has one of the worst save percentages on low danger shots this season. It's the point shots, unscreened that are going in that you're like, those are losing games, right? There's points that should be in the bank that aren't, because of that. So at that point, he's not an option. He's just not.
Look, I understand the human aspect of it, but at the same time, sports is a results-oriented business, and you see it with tennis, golf, all these individual sports. You don't win,
You're out.
you're out. Even if your name is Venus Williams, okay, you're 45 years old, you're trying to play, you might get sponsors exemptions, but that's about it. If Tiger Woods doesn't play, he's not going to be in the top 50. He's going to have to qualify for some tournaments. Well, Woods is not a good example because he's a Hall of Famer, so they can play anytime they want. But I think you see my point. There are some very, very good athletes in individual sports who at some point were the shadow of themselves, and they had to, they were just like another player. And it's the same thing in sports. I mean, I know there were salary cap reasons and injury reasons, but Peyton Manning was cut by Indianapolis because of his neck, because his performance was not as good. They were drafting Andrew Luck at number 1 overall. And that's my point. My point is that sports is performance oriented. It's unfortunately, it's cutthroat, but that's what it is.
That's it.
When we criticize players, we criticize the
product on the ice. Exactly.
That's what it is. And it seems a little bit cold to be discussing players this way, but that's the nature of the.
We have to be honest at the same time, Snake. I mean, that's part of our job here. We want to say the truth. We're not going to sugarcoat it. If a player is not playing up to standards, we're going to say it. It's that simple. Should Sam Montembeault be waived right now? We are in agreement that he should.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if he's a Quebecois. It doesn't matter if he's nice outside of the rink. It has nothing to do with this.
Exactly.
We're talking hockey. I have a translation business, and if I give a bad product to my clients, you know what? Even though I have a good relationship with them on the phone and everything, they're going to flush me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that simple. Snake, while we're on the topic real quick of, Laval waivers, call-ups and all that.
Yeah.
On our last show, we mentioned that, hey, David Reinbacher and Jacob Fowler could be called up. We went 1 for 2. Not bad, but the Reinbacher situation now, there's a lot of confusion in regards to how many call-ups does the team have and the salary cap, right? You still have to make the salaries work, even though there's not a limit of players on the roster. So, in terms of the Reinbacher situation, now, Adam Engstrom and Josh Jacobs are traveling with the team as they go to Utica. Do you think we'll see a Reinbacher call-up at any point soon?
I don't know if it's going to be soon. I think it'll depend on the Habs' performance. It'll depend on injuries. But I always thought that they could recall Reinbacher once they are getting closer and closer to a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And obviously, by being called up towards the end of the year, his cap hit will be much lower. But I saw some tweets and some people did the math and supposedly that it would work. It could work to have Reinbacher and Fowler in. I think we're going to see him at some point. I really, really think we're going to see him if he keeps playing the way he's been playing. And so there are supposedly ways to get around all this.
There we go. All right. And with that, let's go dig it in the mailbag. Okay, one question in the mailbag today, and this one pertains to the draft. Let's take a look. This question coming from Jean-François Marcoux saying, Snake, the Habs should draft around the 23rd selection this year, give or take. If we talk talent-wise, what do you think about Igor Shilov from Victoriaville? Is there another player that you would focus around that selection?
I like the draft questions. I think they're going to start piling up as we get closer. Yeah. And I'm sure this year, most of Habs fans won't have questions about the top 5 picks like before. But with the 23rd, 25th, 26th selection, which is
late round gems. Yeah.
Yeah, late round gems. I think to answer the question about Shilov, I think he's a fantastic offensive player. He's having a great 17-year-old season in the Q right now in Victoriaville. And he's a 6-foot guy. And look, he is obviously an option for the Canadiens, but there are other guys that I like too, depending on if someone happens to fall. There's always a player that falls every year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you a couple of names here to follow because we're going to have these tournaments, these under 18 tournaments coming up in April. So obviously no Russian players are going to be available for these tournaments, but there are some Swedish players out there. One Swedish player that I really like defensively is a centerman called Alex Gaumond.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of an unusual name for a Swedish player, but he is Swedish. Alexander Gaumond. And to me, he's probably the most talented Swedish player with Viggo Bjork that we saw at the World Juniors this year. Gaumond, could he be available at 23? I doubt it. But again, you never know. He's borderline top 20 selection in my book. So that's one guy the Habs would be very lucky to get him. Other guys to consider from the queue, Max Dagenet.
Yeah.
Max Dagenet is a very, very tough forward. He's almost 6'4", and he's the son of Pierre Dagenet, and I think he can contribute offensively. So in the mid 20s, that could be an interesting selection for the Habs. Will he be there? I think he will. So that's one player to consider. I think he could be a very good third liner in the NHL, if not better. But for now, I'm trying to be. I don't want to get the fans' hopes too high, because we're talking about 20-something selections here.
Yeah.
Another one that I really, really like. And he's kind of a sleeper for me, a first-round sleeper. I think he's going to be taken in the first round, but around where the Habs could pick Wyatt Cullen. Wyatt Cullen works. Plays for the USNTDP. He was injured, but this guy is progressing exponentially.
Son of Matt Cullen. And physically, he was very short not so long ago. And now he's growing. He's at 5'11" and a quarter now. He's 175 pounds. His dad was a big guy. And he's highly skilled. He's probably, it's not a good year for the U18 team in the States right now. But I think he's the most talented player. He could be around when the Habs select. To me, that would be a fantastic pick if the Habs could get him. There's always Xavier Villeneuve, obviously, the defenseman. Don't know if he's going to be around. He could be gone. Obviously, he's a clone of Lane Hudson. But I always believe in drafting the best player available. And then you can make trades. The Habs passed on Cole Hudson a couple of years ago because, he was too similar. He was deemed too similar to his brother. But I think he would have made a good pick for the Habs, in my opinion. So I think you always go for best player available. And like I say, there's going to be surprises. There's going to be guys dropping. So I'm not going to go through the whole list because you don't know who's going to drop. But I gave you a few names here of players that could be available between 20 and 30 for the Habs. And there will be obviously maybe second, third round sleepers. I think I mentioned on the show Simon Kataliki. I like Simon Kataliki. He plays in Finland, but he's from either the Czech Republic or Slovakia. I think he's from the Czech Republic. And he plays in Finland right now. He's a 6'4" left winger. He's highly skilled. He's a strong guy. He can skate. I think he could be the sleeper of this draft. Maybe not a Zarovsky type of sleeper, but a sleeper nonetheless who would be worth a second-round pick. There we go.
So that's pretty much it. We're going to have plenty of time in the next few months to discuss it. I thank you for the question because I love draft questions, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, some people like the Ruck brothers in Medicine Hat, the twins. They're probably going to be available late first round, early second round. I wouldn't be surprised if a team took both of them.
Yeah, in the Vancouver Canucks.
But they haven't made threats, like the Sedin brothers. If we don't play on the same team, we're staying in Sweden. I don't think it's gonna happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if a team tried to pull this one, because right now one of them is probably gonna go a late first round. The other one is gonna go in the second round. So who knows? There are teams that have lots of picks this year.
That's it. No, yeah. I think a team's going to finagle their way to getting both brothers. Makes sense too. I mean, why separate them? They have such good chemistry. And I mean, listen, they do play with Bryce Pickford, so maybe the Habs want to keep that chemistry alive. We'll see. It's just putting it out there. But yeah, the draft questions, the draft talk is ramping up, which means summer's on the way, which means the draft is getting closer. Listen, even though the Habs aren't going to be picking very high this year, we're still going to cover the draft. We're very excited to do so. It's going to be a very interesting draft. Lots of storylines heading into it. So this is just the beginning. We're gonna ramp it up. But as the season winds down and the summer ramps up, oh boy, we got you covered on the draft. Snake, anything else to add before we get out of here?
Well, again, for people who lose interest in the draft because the Habs don't have a high pick. Well, okay, last year they traded 2 picks, but that was at the last minute. But let's not forget, Hage was a 21st pick overall, and Zarovsky was the 34th pick overall. So yeah. The draft is still interesting, even if the Habs don't have a top 5 pick anymore. Very
much, and we'll even discuss. If they trade the pick, like they did with Dobson last season, right? We're not just going to talk about the prospects and who they could draft and all that. Like, what could they get? What's the value of that pick? Yeah, we're going to look at all things that have to do with the draft, and how the Canadiens could go about it, how other teams could go about it. Okay, like we do spend quite a bit of time focused on the Habs, but we also talk about the rest of the NHL, like we did today with the Sabres, for example. So that'll do it for us today, but we'll be back again on Monday to talk Habs, prospects. You know the drill by now, the usual. And if you've missed it, we have a pregame show for the Montreal Canadiens on Habs tonight. I've made a few appearances. Andrew Thompson, a.k.a. Drew Deeks, Brandon Legacy. We had some great guests on. We might just get Snake on at some point. I'm trying to work that out. But if you guys want to check that out, please do yourself a favor. Habs tonight, pregame show before every single game. Yes, even on weekends. We'll be back on Saturday and Sunday for those California teams. And Snake's going to be in attendance. So I can't wait to hear about that, Snake. You're going to tell us about your live viewing of Macklin Celebrini, even though it's not your first one. It should be a pretty good one anyways. So it's going to be my first of Michael Misa. Good point.
Because when I went to California, he wasn't playing. He was at the World Juniors.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to follow number 77. Yeah.
He's been really good lately. I love that player. Love that player. So that's it for us today. For Simon the Snake Boivin, I'm producer Shayne. Thank you to Jimmy back at Master Control. This has been another edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. We'll see you Monday. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.